The marble floors of Hartwell Financial Tower gleamed under the crystal chandeliers as 36-year-old janitor David Martinez quietly mopped the executive lobby during the evening shift. His navy blue uniform was clean and pressed, and he moved with the efficient grace of someone who took pride in his work, no matter how others might perceive it. The building was mostly empty at this hour, with only a few late-working executives and security guards remaining. David had been the head custodian at Hartwell Financial for 3 years, working the night shift so he could care for his 8-year-old daughter Emma during the day while she was at school. Single fatherhood had taught him to find dignity in any honest work that allowed him to provide for his child, and he approached his custodial duties with the same attention to detail he had once brought to his previous career as an elementary school teacher. That career had ended when Emma's mother had left them both, and David had been forced to choose between the demands of teaching and the need for a schedule that accommodated his responsibilities as a single parent. The janitorial position paid less, but offered the flexibility he needed to be present for Emma's school events and evening homework time. As David worked his way across the vast lobby, he heard an unusual sound echoing through the normally quiet space, the unmistakable crying of a young child. Looking around, he spotted a little girl who couldn't have been more than 6 years old, sitting alone on one of the leather benches near the elevator bank. The child had blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail and wore an expensive-looking school uniform. But her face was streaked with tears, and her small shoulders shook with sobs that suggested she had been crying for some time. Most concerning to David's experienced parental eye was that she appeared to be completely alone in the building. Setting down his mop, David approached the bench carefully, not wanting to frighten the child, but recognizing that she clearly needed help. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently, crouching down to her eye level. "Are you okay? What's your name?" The little girl looked up at him with blue eyes full of tears and fear. "I'm Lily," she whispered. "I can't find my mommy, and the scary men in suits keep walking by and nobody will help me." David's heart immediately went out to this frightened child. "Well, Lily, I'm David and I work here in the building. I help keep everything clean and safe. Can you tell me about your mommy? Maybe I can help you find her." "She's in a meeting," Lily said between sniffles. "But it's been forever and I'm scared, and I was supposed to wait, but I got lost trying to find the bathroom." David understood the situation immediately. This was clearly the child of one of the executives working late, and she had somehow become separated from her mother in the maze-like corporate building. "You know what, Lily?" David said with the calm, reassuring tone he used with Emma when she was upset. "I bet we can find your mommy. But first, would you like me to help you feel a little better?" Lily nodded tentatively, curious about what this kind man might do. David reached into his custodial cart and pulled out a small bottle of bubble solution that he kept for Emma's visits to the building. She occasionally came by after school when his sister couldn't watch her, and David had learned that a few simple toys could transform a sterile office environment into a place where a child could feel comfortable. Sometimes when people are sad or scared, bubbles can help them feel better, David explained, opening the bottle and pulling out the wand. "Would you like to see some magic bubbles?" Lily's tears slowed as curiosity replaced fear. She watched with growing fascination as David gently blew a stream of iridescent bubbles into the air above them. The bubbles caught the light from the chandeliers, creating tiny rainbow spheres that danced and floated throughout the lobby. "They're beautiful," Lily breathed, her crying stopping completely as she watched the bubbles drift and pop around them. "Want to try?" David asked, offering her the bubble wand. For the next several minutes, Lily and David sat on the marble floor of the corporate lobby, blowing bubbles and watching them float through the elegant space. The little girl's fear and sadness gradually transformed into giggles and wonder as she discovered the joy of creating something magical in an environment that had felt cold and frightening. "You know what I like about bubbles?" David asked as he helped Lily blow a particularly large one. "What?" she asked, completely absorbed in the activity. "Each one is different and special, just like people. And even though they don't last very long, they bring happiness while they're here." Lily nodded seriously. as if this was the most profound wisdom she had ever heard. What neither David nor Lily knew was that they were being observed from the mezzanine level above. Victoria Hartwell, the 38-year-old CEO and founder of Hartwell Financial, had been searching frantically for her daughter after discovering that Lily had wandered away from the conference room where she had been waiting during Victoria's emergency board meeting. Victoria had built her company from nothing into one of the most successful financial firms in the city, but all her business acumen meant nothing when faced with the terror of not knowing where her child was. She had been about to call building security when she heard Lily's laughter echoing through the lobby. Looking down from the balcony, Victoria saw a scene that stopped her in her tracks. Her daughter sitting on the floor with a janitor, both of them surrounded by soap bubbles, with Lily laughing with pure joy for the first time in weeks. Victoria had been struggling with the balance between her demanding career and motherhood, especially since her recent divorce had left her as Lily's primary caregiver. The past month had been particularly difficult, with Lily showing signs of stress and sadness that no amount of expensive toys or activities seemed to alleviate. But here was her daughter, laughing and playing with a man who had taken the time to see her as a child in need of comfort, rather than an inconvenience to be managed. Victoria quietly made her way down to the lobby, arriving just as Lily spotted her and ran over with excitement. "Mommy! Mommy, look what David taught me!" Lily exclaimed, holding up the bubble wand. "He makes magic bubbles and he says each one is special like people?" Victoria looked at David, who had stood up respectfully upon seeing her approach. She recognized him as one of the night custodial staff, but had never really noticed him before this moment. "Mr. she began. "Martinez. David Martinez," he replied, beginning to pack up the bubble solution. "I'm sorry if we made a mess. I just found Lily upset and thought the bubbles might help calm her down while we looked for you." "Please don't apologize," Victoria said, her voice thick with emotion. "You did exactly what she needed. I've been trying to help her feel better for weeks. And you accomplished in 10 minutes what I couldn't do with months of effort." David looked at this elegant woman in her expensive business suit, recognizing the exhaustion and worry in her eyes that he knew all too well from his own experience as a single parent. "Sometimes kids just need someone to meet them where they are," David said gently. "Lily's a wonderful little girl. You should be very proud of her." Victoria felt tears form in her eyes at his simple kindness. "David, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you have children of your own?" "A daughter, Emma. She's 8. I understand how scary it can be when you can't find them." Victoria nodded, recognizing a fellow single parent's understanding. Would you be willing to talk with me sometime? About parenting, I mean. I feel like I'm failing at the most important job I've ever had." David saw the vulnerability beneath Victoria's successful exterior and recognized someone who was struggling with the same challenges he faced every day. "You're not failing," he said with quiet conviction. "You're working hard to provide for your daughter, and she knows you love her. Sometimes that has to be enough while we figure out the rest." 2 weeks later, Victoria made a decision that surprised her entire executive team. She hired David Martinez as the company's Director of Family Services, a newly created position focused on helping employees balance work and family responsibilities. Ms. Hartwell, with respect, "A janitor doesn't have the qualifications for an executive position," her HR director had protested. "He has the most important qualification," Victoria had replied firmly. "He understands that the most valuable thing we can do is help people take care of their families. Everything else can be learned." David's new role involved developing on-site child care facilities, creating flexible work arrangements for parents, and serving as an advocate for employees who were struggling to balance career demands with family needs. But more importantly for Victoria and Lily, David became a friend and mentor who helped them both understand that success meant different things to different people, and that the most important achievements couldn't be measured in profit margins or stock prices. 6 months later, the Hartwell Financial Building had been transformed into one of the most family-friendly corporate environments in the city. The executive lobby now featured a small play area where employees' children could wait comfortably, and David's office was always stocked with bubbles, coloring books, and other simple tools for helping young visitors feel welcome. You know what I learned from that night with the bubbles? Victoria said one evening as she and David watched Lily and Emma play together in the office play area. "What's that?" David asked. "That sometimes the most important leadership decisions aren't made in boardrooms. They're made when we choose to see people's needs and respond with kindness rather than protocol." David smiled, watching their daughters create elaborate bubble sculptures together. "And I learned that success isn't just about providing for your family financially. It's about creating an environment where they can thrive emotionally, too." "We make a good team," Victoria observed. "The best teams usually do start with someone being willing to sit on the floor and blow bubbles when a child needs comfort," David replied. "Sometimes the most powerful people are those who understand that true strength comes from gentleness, and that the most important problems are solved not through corporate strategies, but through simple human kindness and the willingness to meet others exactly where they are." If this story reminded you that the most valuable leadership qualities are often the simplest ones, please give it a like and share it with someone who understands that success means lifting others up. Subscribe for more stories about finding extraordinary solutions in ordinary moments of kindness, and let us know in the comments about a time when someone's simple gesture made a profound difference in your life. Sometimes the most important magic happens when we take time to see what others really need.